The stars stretched endlessly around Aaron's small ship as it glided through the quiet space between systems. He had been a pilot for years, carrying supplies from one colony to another, but this trip was different. The navigation system had picked up strange energy readings on a planet that maps still marked as empty. Aaron was curious by nature, and curiosity had carried him far. Instead of reporting the signal to command, he guided his vessel toward the unknown world. As the ship entered the planet's atmosphere, Aaron braced for turbulence. The hull rattled gently, but the descent was smooth. He peered through the forward glass, expecting barren land or scattered rock. What he saw instead made his breath catch in his chest. Below him stretched green valleys and rivers that shimmered in the sunlight. And in the distance, on a wide plain, stood something impossible, a city of shining stone and silver towers. Aaron slowed the ship and circled above the strange city. The towers rose higher than any colony spire he had seen, their tops glowing faintly as though powered by hidden energy. Bridges arched gracefully between them, and walls of pale marble enclosed the city like protective arms. This place was no ruin. It was alive. Impossible, Aaron whispered to himself. Humanity had records of every colony in this region. This world was supposed to be silent. And yet, here was proof of life, of civilization, of history no one had known. He set the ship down in a meadow just outside the city walls. The grass swayed gently under the landing thrusters, and when the engines cooled, the sound of flowing water and distant birds filled the air. Aaron stepped out, his boots pressing into the soft earth. The air was fresh, rich with the scent of pine trees. With careful steps, he approached the great gate of the city. The walls were carved with symbols he did not understand, but their design spoke of both beauty and strength. As he drew closer, he realized the gates were already open. It was as if the city had been waiting for him. Aaron walked through the archway into a wide courtyard. What he saw next froze him in place. The courtyard was alive with movement. People dressed in robes of white and silver moved gracefully between tall columns. They carried baskets of fruit, spoke in calm voices, and greeted one another with respect. Their skin tones varied, their faces unique, but all shared a certain calm presence. They looked human, yet their manner carried something timeless. And then he saw her. On the balcony of the largest hall, a young beautiful woman stood, her figure framed by golden sunlight. Her gown shimmered softly, woven with threads that seemed alive. She had a soft natural beauty that no painting or story could capture. Her eyes, clear and watchful, looked down across the courtyard as though she had guarded it for years. She held herself with quiet strength, not arrogance, but the dignity of one who carried responsibility for many lives. Aaron felt his breath falter. He had traveled across half the known colonies, but he had never seen anyone like her. The words left his lips before he could stop them. "She's the most magnificent princess I've seen." It was only a whisper, meant for himself. But in that very moment, the young woman on the balcony turned. Her eyes locked with his across the great courtyard. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Aaron stood frozen, as though the weight of her gaze had reached across the distance and held him still. She did not speak, not yet, but the faintest change touched her expression: curiosity, perhaps even recognition. Aaron's mind raced. Who was she? How could a city like this exist on a world forgotten by human records? And how could someone who looked so human, so impossibly graceful, stand here waiting for him? The silence broke as a pair of guards approached. They wore armor unlike anything Aaron had ever seen, silver plates shaped like flowing water, light as air yet strong in design. They did not raise their weapons, but their presence reminded him of where he was an outsider in a hidden city. One guard spoke in a firm, measured voice. "The princess wishes you to enter." The words echoed in Aaron's mind. The princess. So she truly was royalty, not just a figure of imagination. He followed them through tall doors into the great hall. The ceilings rose higher than any ship hangar he had ever seen, painted with scenes of stars and planets. The walls pulsed faintly, as if built with energy woven into the stone. Candles flickered beside crystal lamps, giving the hall both warmth and mystery. At the far end, she waited. The princess stood beside a throne carved of marble and silver. Her gown brushed the polished floor, and her eyes never left Aaron as he approached. He felt suddenly aware of his travel-worn uniform, the dust on his boots, the weight of his years as a simple pilot. Yet as he neared, she inclined her head ever so slightly, a gesture of greeting that surprised him. "You came," she said, her voice calm but carrying across the hall. It was not a question, but a statement, as though she had expected his arrival. Aaron stopped a few paces away. "I did not know this place existed. I thought this world was empty." Her eyes softened. "It has never been empty. My people have lived here for generations, unseen by the stars beyond. We chose silence, until now." Aaron's mind swirled with questions, but none seemed to matter as much as the truth of what he was seeing. A hidden city, a forgotten people, and a princess who stood before him like a vision. The guard stepped back, leaving him alone in her presence. The hall seemed to hold its breath. Aaron realized his life had just changed forever. He had come seeking answers to strange signals, but instead he had found something greater. The great hall was silent except for the faint hum of energy flowing through its walls. Aaron stood still, his eyes fixed on the princess before him. Her name had not yet been spoken, but already her presence commanded the space more than the tall pillars and glowing symbols that surrounded them. The princess took a step forward, the soft sound of her gown brushing the polished floor echoing in the vast chamber. Her eyes studied Aaron carefully, as if weighing his soul. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady and clear. "I am Myra," she said. "Ruler of this city and guardian of my people." Aaron bowed his head slightly, unsure of the customs here. He wanted to show respect, though he was only a pilot, not a noble or a soldier of rank. "My name is Aaron," he said. "I did not come here to intrude. I only followed a strange signal. I thought this world was empty." Myra's expression softened, though her dignity did not fade. "Empty to some perhaps, but not to us. For many generations, we remained apart from the colonies beyond the stars. We chose silence, but silence cannot last forever." Her words carried weight, like history hidden behind them. Aaron wanted to ask why her people had hidden for so long, but the question caught in his throat. Instead, he let his eyes travel around the chamber again. The walls were carved with constellations, some familiar and some unknown. Energy crystals glowed softly in the corners, their light mingling with the flame of tall candles. This place felt both ancient and alive, like a bridge between eras. Myra motioned for him to follow. "Walk with me," she said. They passed through another set of tall doors into a long corridor lined with arched windows. Beyond the glass stretched the city Aaron had seen from the air. Streets wound gracefully between towers of silver and marble. Fountains spilled clear water into pools where children laughed and played. Markets bustled with color and sound. Everywhere Aaron looked, life moved in harmony, unlike the crowded, restless colonies he knew. This city, Myra explained, was built by my ancestors when they left Earth long ago. They carried with them knowledge and hope, seeking a place to begin again. Here, they shaped a kingdom hidden from wars and disputes beyond. We grew in silence, safe but separate. Aaron nodded slowly, his eyes tracing the curves of the towers. It is beautiful, he said. Myra gave the faintest of smiles, though her eyes carried a shadow. Beauty alone does not protect us. The silence that kept us safe is breaking. That is why I looked to the sky and knew someone would come. And now you are here. Her words stirred something in Aaron. He had never seen himself as anything more than a pilot. Yet here was a princess of a hidden city, speaking as though fate had led him to her gates. They entered a smaller hall filled with books and glowing tablets. At the center stood a round table carved of crystal, its surface alive with shifting lights that formed maps of stars. Myra touched the table gently, and the lights rearranged into a pattern Aaron recognized, sectors of known space. This is what we watch, Myra said. The colonies of your people. The paths of trade. The growth of warships. And here. She pointed to a cluster of dark symbols pressing into the edges of the map. The shadow that spreads closer each year. Aaron leaned forward. The symbols represented ships, but not human ones. They were clustered like a swarm, advancing slowly from system to system. He had heard rumors of hostile fleets beyond the colonies, but most dismissed them as distant threats. You are fighting them? Aaron asked. Myra's gaze grew firm. We are holding as best we can. But their numbers grow. Our shields and weapons can protect us only for so long. That is why we can no longer remain hidden. We must choose, to face this shadow alone, or to step into the greater sky and seek allies. Aaron looked at her, seeing the weight in her eyes. She was young, yet she bore responsibility for an entire people. She carried it with grace, but the burden was real. He straightened his back. Then you will not stand alone, he said. If the colonies knew of this place, if they understood the danger, they would join you. Myra studied him, her eyes searching his face for truth. Would they? She asked quietly. Your colonies quarrel among themselves. They divide resources, argue over borders, fight for power. Can they unite for anything greater? Aaron hesitated. He knew her words were true. The colonies often acted like rivals, not brothers. Yet he also knew of moments when humans had come together against impossible odds. He had seen it in battles where survival left no room for division. They can, he said firmly. When the danger is clear, when the choice is survival or ruin, they can stand together. I believe that. For the first time, Myra's eyes softened in something more than caution. She gave the smallest nod, as if acknowledging his conviction. Then perhaps, she said, you are the one who was meant to carry this truth beyond our walls. Before Aaron could answer, a bell rang through the city. Its deep sound rolled across the halls like thunder. Myra turned sharply toward the window, her gown flowing behind her as she moved. Aaron followed, and together they looked out over the towers. A flight of silver ships rose swiftly into the air, their engines glowing bright. People in the streets looked upward, their faces lit by both fear and hope. Myra's expression hardened, the softness replaced by command. Scouts have returned, she said. The shadow presses closer. We have little time. She turned back to Aaron. You came here by chance, but chance often guides destiny. Will you stand with us, pilot of the colonies? Aaron felt his heart pound. He had expected an ordinary supply run, a simple journey through the stars. Now he stood in a hidden kingdom beside a princess whose people faced a growing storm. He thought of her eyes when she looked at him, not with fear but with expectation. "Yes," he said without hesitation. "I will stand with you." Myra held his gaze for a long moment, then gave a firm nod. The weight of her decision showed in her posture. She extended her hand, and when Aaron placed his own against it, a spark seemed to pass between them. Not of magic, but of resolve. The bell rang again, echoing across the city. The shadow was coming. And Aaron knew this was only the beginning. The silver ships that rose into the sky vanished beyond the towers, their trails glowing briefly before fading into the blue. Aaron stood beside Myra at the tall window, the sound of the bells still rolling through the city. Every note reminded him that this place, so full of beauty, was also a fortress preparing for survival. Myra turned from the window and faced him again. Her calm voice carried strength, but behind it lay the weight of truth. "You must understand who we are, Aaron, before you can understand why we fear what approaches." She led him away from the hall and down another passage. This one sloped downward into the earth beneath the citadel. The walls grew darker, lined with glowing veins of crystal that pulsed faintly as though alive. Aaron felt the air grow cooler. The silence deepened until even the sound of their steps seemed heavy. At last they entered a great cavern. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadow. At the center rose a tall spire of black stone carved with symbols, each line shining faintly in the dim light. Around it stood statues of men and women, their faces solemn, their hands raised as though carrying burdens that had no end. "This is the Hall of Memory," Myra said. Her voice echoed gently in the space. "Here lies the history of my people." Aaron stepped closer to the black spire. When his hand brushed the surface, light flared across it. Images appeared in the air, shifting like smoke made solid. He saw starships leaving a blue planet he knew was Earth. He saw battles among the stars, flames, and falling cities. He saw families fleeing into the dark, carrying only what they could. "Our ancestors left Earth long ago," Myra explained. "There was a war greater than any you have known. A war between those who sought peace and those who sought power. My people chose to leave, to seek a place far from conflict. They built this kingdom on a quiet world, hiding it behind shields that kept us unseen. For centuries we grew in silence." Aaron watched the images change. The refugees became builders. Towers rose, fields flourished, children ran through gardens. The city was born, shining and proud. Generations passed, each one stronger than the last. "But hiding has its cost," Myra continued. "We watched the stars but never touched them. We listened but never spoke. My people became a kingdom in the shadows. We learned balance, honor, and unity, but we lost the bond with those who remained beyond." Aaron turned toward her. "And now you face an enemy that forces you to choose again." Myra's eyes met his, steady and clear. "Yes. The swarm presses closer each season. They consume what they find. They are not builders. They are destroyers. Alone, we can resist, but only for so long. That is why I say our silence must end. Yet many of my council do not agree. They fear that contact with the colonies will bring the same divisions that broke the old world." Aaron thought of the colonies he had known. Some were full of hope and growth, but others were plagued by greed and rivalry. Myra's counsel was not wrong to fear. Yet he also remembered the times when humanity had stood together, when survival had forced unity. He faced Myra again. Your people are strong. I can see that. But strength grows when shared. If the colonies learn of this threat, they can join you. Together, we would be more than just shadows fighting in silence. For the first time, Myra's voice carried a trace of doubt. And if they do not unite? If your colonies quarrel while the swarm devours us? What then? Aaron did not look away. Then we will stand anyway. But I believe they will answer. I believe they must. The silence between them stretched. At last Myra turned toward the statues that surrounded the hall. My ancestors carried the burden of choice. Now it falls to me. And to you, perhaps, since fate brought you here. Before Aaron could speak again, the ground shook faintly. The crystals lining the cavern walls flickered. Myra's eyes narrowed. A signal from the scouts, she said. We must go. They hurried back through the corridors until they reached a chamber filled with glowing panels and star maps. Officers in silver armor bent over the displays, their faces tense. One turned to Myra at once. Princess, he said. The swarm has reached the edge of the system. Their ships are gathering near the outer moon. Myra stood tall, her calm presence steadying the room. Prepare the defenses. Raise the shields around the city. Send word to the council. The officer bowed and hurried to obey. Aaron studied the map, his heart quickening. The swarm symbols glowed red, spreading like fire across the edges of the star. He turned to Myra. You cannot wait. If they attack, the city will fall without allies. Let me carry your message to the colonies. Let me tell them what is coming. The council entered the chamber then, their robes flowing as they moved quickly. Their faces were lined with worry. One elder spoke at once. We cannot risk exposure. If we send this stranger, the colonies may bring warships, politics, and chaos. Better we remain silent and defend what is ours. Another shook her head. Silence will kill us. We must act. The voices rose, sharp and divided. Aaron watched Myra. Her gaze remained fixed on the map, her thoughts hidden behind her calm face. At last she raised her hand, and the chamber fell quiet. Enough. The shadow does not wait for our quarrels. If we hide, we will fall. If we speak, there is risk, but also hope. I will decide. She looked to Aaron. You came from the colonies. You know their ways. You believe they will answer. Will you carry our plea beyond the stars? Aaron nodded at once. Yes. I will take your message, and I will bring them to stand with you. For the first time, Myra's expression softened with something that might have been relief. She stepped closer, her voice low but strong. Then you are no longer only a visitor. You are our envoy. Carry our truth with honor. The officers around the chamber bowed their heads. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, but none spoke against her. The decision had been made. The ground trembled again, stronger this time. The map flickered as reports came in. The swarm was moving faster. Myra's eyes turned to the window, where the sunlight touched the towers of her city. We are a kingdom in the shadows no longer, she said softly. The stars must see us. And they must see you. Aaron felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. He had arrived here by chance, but chance had become destiny. He was no longer only a pilot. He was the bridge between a hidden kingdom and the restless colonies. And beyond the stars, the swarm was waiting. The council chamber quieted after Myra's declaration. Her words still hung in the air, carrying both hope and uncertainty. Aaron stood tall, but inside his chest his heart pounded. He knew the task ahead was larger than any journey he had taken. He was only a pilot, yet now the survival of an entire kingdom rested on whether he could carry their plea beyond the stars. But before he could speak further, one of the council elders stepped forward. His beard was silver and his eyes were sharp with doubt. "Princess," the elder said, "this man is a stranger. He speaks with conviction, but conviction is not proof. We cannot entrust our secrets to someone whose past we do not know." Myra's gaze did not waver. "Trust must begin somewhere, Elder Joran. Without it, we are nothing but walls waiting to break." The elder bowed his head but did not yield. "Then let him prove himself, as our tradition demands. Let him walk the Hall of Echoes. Only then will we know his truth." A murmur rose through the council. Some nodded in agreement, others exchanged wary glances. Aaron looked to Myra, unsure of what the elder meant, but he saw no fear in her eyes. She turned to him and spoke calmly. "The Hall of Echoes is an ancient place. It reveals the heart of those who enter. You will stand within it, and it will show your truth to all who watch. No word or oath will matter more than what the hall reveals." Aaron straightened his shoulders. "Then I will face it? If you must see my truth, let it be seen." Myra gave a small nod of approval. "So be it. Prepare the hall." The council members left to make ready. Myra led Aaron through winding corridors deeper into the citadel until they reached a pair of tall doors carved with swirling lines of silver. Guards pushed them open, and beyond lay a chamber unlike any Aaron had seen. The Hall of Echoes was round, its ceiling domed high above. Crystals lined the walls, each one glowing faintly with shifting colors. In the center stood a platform of black stone, smooth as glass. The air hummed softly, as though the chamber itself breathed. Myra stopped at the entrance. Her eyes met Aaron's. "Whatever you carry within you, the hall will reveal. Stand true, and let your memories speak." Aaron stepped forward onto the platform. At once the crystals around the room brightened, filling the chamber with light. A low hum grew louder, vibrating in the floor beneath his feet. Then the air shimmered, and before him rose shapes formed of light and sound. He saw himself as a boy on his home colony, running across dusty fields beneath a red sky. He saw his mother's smile, warm and proud, though her hands were worn from work. He saw himself in the cockpit of a training vessel, nervous yet determined. The images shifted quickly, carrying him through the story of his life. The crystals glowed brighter, and his greatest trials appeared. He saw the day his ship was attacked by raiders, the fire that tore across the hull, and the moment he lost his closest friend in the chaos. Pain filled his chest again as he relived it, but he did not look away. Then came another memory. He saw himself standing over the graves of fallen comrades after a colony skirmish. He had promised them that he would protect others, that their loss would not be in vain. He had spoken those words alone, yet the hall now revealed them to all. Aaron clenched his fists, his eyes burning. "I swore I would stand for humanity," he said aloud. "That oath has never left me." The crystals answered with a deep pulse of light. The chamber filled with warmth, as though the truth of his words carried weight. Finally, the images faded, leaving only Aaron standing on the platform. The hum grew quiet, and the lights returned to their gentle glow. The council members who had gathered at the edges of the hall whispered among themselves. Elder Joran, who had doubted him, stepped forward, his face lined with thought. "The hall shows not lies but truth," the elder admitted. This man carries sorrow, yet also honor. He has lost, but he has not broken. His oath to protect stands strong. Myra stepped onto the platform beside Aaron. She placed her hand lightly on his arm, her eyes steady. You have shown us who you are. You are worthy to carry our message beyond the shadows. Aaron felt a wave of relief, but also a deeper sense of responsibility. The hall had shown his pain, his promise, his truth. There was no hiding now. The council bowed their heads, one after another, until even Elder Joran lowered his in respect. Then let him carry our hope, Joran said. For if the colonies will listen, it may be the only chance we have. Myra turned back to Aaron. Your path is set. You will leave at dawn. My people will prepare the message you must carry. But know this: once you step beyond our shields, the swarm may already be near. Your journey will not be safe. Aaron gave a firm nod. Danger is nothing new to me. I will carry your message, no matter the cost. Myra's eyes lingered on him, her gaze deep and searching. Then perhaps fate truly guided you here. Remember, Aaron, the strength of one can light the path for many. Hold fast to that. That evening, the city glowed with lanterns as the people prepared for what was to come. Some sang songs of courage, others sharpened weapons, and still others stood silently on the walls, staring toward the stars. Aaron walked through the streets, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon him. These people had lived in silence for generations, and now they placed their trust in him, an outsider. He felt humbled, yet determined not to fail them. When he returned to the citadel, Myra waited on the balcony overlooking the city. The wind stirred her gown as she spoke softly. You face the hall without fear. That alone gives hope. Tomorrow, you will carry our truth to the stars. Aaron stood beside her, looking out over the glowing towers. I will not let you down. Whatever waits out there, I will bring back help. Myra's voice grew firm, though her eyes held warmth. Then go with honor. For in you, I see more than chance. I see the bond that may unite us with the world beyond. The bells rang once more across the city, a solemn call as night settled over the kingdom. Aaron knew sleep would not come easily, but his heart was steady. He had faced the Hall of Echoes, and his truth had been revealed. Now, the true test awaited in the vast silence of space. The dawn came with the red sky over the hidden kingdom. Aaron rose early, his mind still restless from the visions of the Hall of Echoes. He had shown his truth and gained their trust, yet the weight of his mission pressed heavy on his shoulders. As he stepped onto the balcony of the guest chamber, he saw the city already awake. Soldiers in silver armor marched in formation across the courtyards. Engineers worked on sleek vessels in the docks above the river. Every tower glowed with energy as shields were strengthened. The people prepared for war. Myra joined him on the balcony. She wore armor now, light yet shining, shaped to her form without losing its grace. The silver plates reflected the rising sun, and her presence was no longer just regal but commanding. Aaron saw in her not only the princess he had first admired but the warrior her people needed. The swarm is close, she said. Her voice carried steady strength, but a shadow of concern lingered in her eyes. Our scouts returned before dawn. The enemy has crossed the outer moon and spreads toward this world. By nightfall, they may reach orbit. Aaron looked at her closely. Then I cannot wait. I must leave now to carry your message before they trap the system. Myra nodded but raised her hand. Not yet. If you leave alone, you may not survive the crossing. First we must hold the swarm long enough to give you a chance. And I will not stand behind walls while my people fight. Her words were firm, and Aaron saw there was no arguing with her. She was not only a ruler. She was a leader who would stand on the front lines. The two walked together through the citadel halls into the war chamber. The council and commanders were gathered around the star map. Red symbols marked the swarm's advance, spreading like a wave toward the planet. The officers bowed as Myra entered, their faces set with grim determination. "Raise the planetary shield," Myra ordered. "All fighters to the outer ring. Hold them at distance for as long as you can. Aaron will need a path through the blockade." Elder Joran, once doubtful, stepped forward. His voice was heavy but respectful now. "Princess, the swarm's numbers are vast. Even with our weapons, the city cannot stand forever. Are you certain this outsider can bring help in time?" Myra looked at Aaron, then back at the elder. "I have seen his truth. If anyone can carry our call to the colonies, it is him. We must believe." The elder bowed his head in silence. The chamber came alive with commands. Officers relayed orders to pilots. Lights on the map shifted as defensive positions were formed. Aaron felt the air charged with both fear and resolve. He knew the moment of battle was near. By mid-morning the warning bells rang across the city. The sky darkened as massive shapes entered orbit. From the balcony Aaron saw them, great living ships shaped like monstrous shells, their surfaces crawling with movement. The swarm had arrived. The city shields flared to life, a dome of shimmering energy rising above the towers. The swarm ships unleashed a storm of fire, but the shields held, glowing brighter with each impact. The ground shook with the force, yet the walls of the citadel stood unbroken. From the docks, squadrons of silver fighters launched into the air. Their engines roared as they climbed toward the enemy. Aaron's pulse quickened as he watched the battle unfold. Beams of light streaked through the sky as fighters met the swarm head-on. Explosions flashed against the dome as ships clashed in the upper air. Myra stood at the front of the command balcony, her eyes fixed on the battle. She gave orders calmly, her voice carrying authority through the noise of alarms. "Shift the east wing to support. Hold the northern line. Do not let them breach the lower orbit." Aaron could not stay still. He turned to her. "Let me fly with them. I know their patterns, I know how swarms move. I can help your pilots hold the line." Myra studied him for a breath, then nodded. "Take a fighter. But stay alive, Aaron. We need you to complete the greater mission." Aaron ran to the docks, where sleek silver ships waited. A pilot handed him a helmet, and soon he was strapped into the cockpit. The controls were strange yet intuitive, as though designed to flow with thought more than effort. The ship lifted smoothly into the sky, joining the formation above. The battle was fierce. Swarm ships darted and lunged like predators, their movements chaotic yet deadly. Aaron gritted his teeth and dived through a cluster, his cannons firing bursts of light that tore one apart. He looped upward, dodging fire as explosions lit the clouds. On the ground below, Myra commanded with precision. She directed the shield towers to focus their energy at key points, creating bursts that shattered enemy waves. Her soldiers fought bravely, but for every swarm ship destroyed, more seemed to arrive. Hours passed in fire and thunder. The city shook, the shield dome flickered, and still the swarm pressed closer. Aaron's arms ached from the strain of the controls, yet he refused to yield. His ship weaved through enemy fire, striking where the swarm was weakest, guiding other fighters to follow. Slowly, Against overwhelming odds, they held. At last Myra received word from her commanders. "The first wave is broken," one officer reported. "The swarm retreats to regroup." Relief swept through the chamber. But Myra's expression remained serious. She knew this was only the beginning. "They will return stronger," she said. "We must use this time." Aaron landed his fighter and hurried back to her side, sweat streaking his face but determination in his eyes. "You have a chance now. Send me out before the swarm closes again. I can break through while they are scattered." Myra looked at him long and hard. In that moment, Aaron saw the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to keep him safe, yet she knew his mission mattered more than any single battle. Finally, she placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. "Then go," she said. "Take our message to the colonies. Tell them the shadows are real, and we cannot stand alone. If they do not come, all will fall." Aaron nodded. "I will not fail." The message was prepared, sealed in a crystal case bearing the mark of Myra's house. It held records of the swarm's movements, images of their strength, and the plea of her people. Aaron carried it to his ship, his heart steady despite the danger ahead. Myra stood on the balcony as his vessel rose into the sky. The people gathered below watched in silence, their hope carried with him into the stars. The swarm was still out there, waiting to strike again, but for the first time in generations, their kingdom had reached beyond its silence. The trial chamber hummed with quiet energy as Aaron and his crew approached the final challenge. Every step they had taken inside Lyra's palace ship had tested them in ways they had not imagined. Strange puzzles, shifting pathways, and holographic illusions had forced them to think together and trust each other. Now, only one challenge remained. Aaron glanced at his crew. Toma, the ship's engineer, wiped sweat from his forehead, looking tired but determined. Lonnie, the communications officer, held her tablet tightly, her eyes scanning the room for hidden dangers. Even simple tasks had become harder under the strange energy that filled the palace. "This is it," Aaron said quietly. "The last one. I can feel it." The chamber opened into a wide hall filled with floating platforms. Each platform glowed with a different color, and inscriptions floated in the air above them. They could not read the inscriptions fully, but the meaning was clear. They had to choose which platforms to step on. The wrong choice would lock them into the chamber forever. Aaron stepped forward. He felt the weight of the decision pressing on him. "We cannot do this alone," he said. "We have to move together." The crew nodded. Slowly, they placed their feet on the first set of platforms. The colors pulsed beneath their weight, shifting from blue to green. A soft voice filled the hall, calm and deep. It was Lyra's voice. "You have worked together to reach this point. You have shown courage and care. Now, you must show the wisdom to carry the legacy I offer." Aaron looked at the last few platforms. They were gold, shining brighter than the others. They knew that stepping on them meant accepting something more than knowledge. It was responsibility. He turned to his crew. "This is the moment. We must decide if we take this gift as a duty, not as power. We cannot use it for ourselves. Humanity is still young. We have to protect, not conquer." Thomas swallowed hard. "It is tempting," he said. "We could learn so much, do so much. But if we use it for ourselves alone, we might destroy what we want to protect." Lonnie nodded. "She is testing us, not just for skill, but for our hearts. We must prove that humans can be guardians, not rulers." Aaron took a deep breath and stepped onto the first gold platform. It felt warm, alive, as if it recognized his intention. Slowly, he lifted his hand, motioning for the others to join him. Toma and Lonnie followed without hesitation. The platforms glowed brighter under all three of them. The hall changed immediately. The floating platform solidified into a golden bridge that led to a throne at the far end. Lyra stood there, watching. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes glimmered with quiet approval. Aaron walked forward, feeling the bridge support every step with strength he could not explain. He realized then that this bridge was more than a path. It symbolized humanity's potential. They could rise higher than their mistakes. They could carry wisdom, protect life, and reach for greatness. When they reached the throne, Lyra spoke. "You have chosen correctly. You see the value of what I offer. You understand that knowledge without care is dangerous. You have shown that humans, though young, can hold responsibility greater than themselves." Aaron bowed slightly. "We accept this gift with respect. We will protect it, not use it to harm. We will carry it for all life, not for our own gain." The palace ship vibrated softly, and light flowed through every corridor. Holograms of Lyra's people appeared, walking among them as if alive again. They looked human in form but taller and more elegant. Aaron realized that these were not ghosts, but echoes of a civilization that had achieved greatness long before humans had risen among the stars. "You will be the bridge between our worlds," Lyra said. "Our people trusted you before even meeting you. You have proven worthy. Remember this always: wisdom is not measured by knowledge alone, but by how it is used. Courage is not measured by facing danger, but by choosing what is right. Compassion is not just kindness, but the ability to protect even when it is difficult." Aaron felt a surge of pride and humility at the same time. He had never imagined humans could meet such a test. Yet here they were, passing it not through strength alone, but through unity and heart. Suddenly, the bridge extended further, connecting to a chamber filled with glowing books, devices, and spheres of information floating in midair. Lyra gestured toward them. "This is the legacy of my people. Everything we learned, every discovery, every truth. It is yours to study, to share, and to guard. But do not think it is a treasure to be hoarded. You must use it to uplift, to protect, to inspire. Only then will humanity become what it is meant to be." Toma reached out, touching one of the floating spheres. Images of advanced cities, powerful machines, and peaceful worlds filled his vision. He felt awe, but also the weight of responsibility pressing on him. "We will not fail," he said softly. "We will learn, and we will protect." Lonnie smiled, tears in her eyes. "This is bigger than any mission we have had. Bigger than any danger. We are part of something that matters, something eternal." Aaron looked at Lyra. She stepped forward, her figure radiating calm and strength. She raised a hand, and a beam of light shot into space from the top of the palace ship. Far away, planets could see it. It was a signal, a sign of hope. "Let all civilizations know," she said. "Humanity has risen not as conquerors, but as guardians. You are ready to carry this light into the universe." Aaron felt a warmth inside him that had nothing to do with the palace ship. It was pride, courage, and hope all together. Humanity had been tested, and they had passed. The responsibility was great, but so was the potential. As they turned to leave the hall, Aaron whispered, "She believed in us before we even knew what to believe in ourselves." Toma and Lonnie nodded. The trial was over, but the journey was just beginning. They were no longer just explorers. They were guardians, chosen to carry a legacy of wisdom and courage. And as the palace ship hummed softly behind them, Aaron realized that this turning point was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. The bridge of golden light faded behind them, but its lessons remained. They had learned that greatness came not from power, but from choice. From courage, compassion, and unity. And as they walked toward the waiting ship, ready to bring Lyra's gift to the universe, they knew that humanity's story was about to shine brighter than ever before. The council chamber was vast and glowing, filled with beings from many worlds. Darren walked beside the alien queen, feeling the weight of every gaze upon him. Some council members looked skeptical, others curious. All were aware that a simple human had entered the heart of the richest empire in the galaxy. Darren felt nervous, but he held his head high. He remembered the queen's words: courage, honesty, and heart mattered more than wealth or power. The queen stepped forward, her presence commanding the room. "These are the advisors of my empire," she said. "They are wise and experienced. And now, I introduce someone who has proven himself by courage and honor, a human named Darren. He will advise me and help guide our choices." A murmur passed through the room. Many had never seen a human work so closely with the ruler of the galaxy. Some doubted that someone from such a simple life could make decisions that affected countless planets. Darren felt their eyes, but he did not flinch. He knew that his actions would speak louder than words. The queen continued, "Darren has shown me that humanity is more than survival. Humans are capable of honor, courage, and wisdom. These are qualities our empire needs. He has chosen to stand for what is right, not for wealth or power. That is why he stands beside me." Darren bowed slightly, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. He knew that this moment was not about him. It was about the future they could build together. The council watched closely as he spoke, ready to judge him. He took a deep breath and began. "I am not here to rule," Darren said, his voice steady. "I am here to help. I do not want wealth or glory. I want to make choices that are fair and good for all. I will speak honestly and guide the queen when I see danger or wrong. That is my purpose." Some council members frowned, unsure if a human could truly be trusted with such responsibility. But others leaned forward, intrigued by his words. They sensed something unusual in him, something that could change the way decisions were made across the empire. The queen nodded approvingly. "Darren's words are true. He does not act from desire for wealth or power. He acts for what is right. That is a rare quality in any being, human or alien. I trust him, and I hope you will too." A tall advisor, with blue skin and silver eyes, stepped forward. "If what you say is true, Queen, this human has already shown courage. But can he handle the weight of ruling? Can he guide us through threats and challenges we cannot even imagine?" Darren met the advisor's gaze without fear. "I may not know everything," he said. "I may make mistakes. But I promise to always speak the truth, to fight for fairness, and to help the queen make the best decisions for everyone. That is all I can give." The room was silent for a moment. Then another advisor, smaller and with golden wings, spoke. "Courage and honesty are stronger than gold or armies. If he has these qualities, perhaps he is exactly what we need." The queen smiled. "You see, even the smallest human can inspire change. Darren reminds us that strength is not only in power, but in heart and mind." In the following days, Darren began working with the queen and her council. He learned about politics, trade, and the many worlds under her rule. He asked questions, offered suggestions, and sometimes disagreed when he thought a decision was unfair. At first, some council members resisted. But soon, they realized that his insights were clear and honest. His perspective reminded them to think of those who had no voice, the people living far from palaces and riches. Darren also traveled with the Queen to some of her planets. He saw cities struggling with poverty, colonies rebuilding after wars, and communities threatened by outside forces. He helped create plans that gave hope to people who had lost it. He helped design new systems of fairness and protection. Slowly, the galaxy began to notice the change. Stories spread of the human who guided the Queen with wisdom. People began to trust the Empire more, knowing that decisions were not made for greed or selfish gain. Traders respected them, settlers felt safe, and even distant planets started sending ambassadors. The human, once unknown, became a symbol of hope. One evening, after a long day of council meetings and planning, Darren stood on the balcony of the palace. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky with gold and orange. The Queen joined him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. "You have changed many things," she said softly. "Not because of force or wealth, but because of your courage and heart. Humanity has left its mark on this empire, and I have seen what one person can do." Darren looked out at the horizon, feeling the wind on his face. "I only did what I thought was right. I never imagined it would make such a difference." The Queen nodded. "That is the true power of humans. Not strength or money, but honesty and courage. You have shown me that even the simplest choices can ripple across the galaxy and inspire hope in ways no one expected." Darren smiled quietly. He felt proud, but not proud of himself. He felt proud of humanity and the possibilities that could come when people acted with heart. He realized that even one person, willing to do what is right, could change the course of history. Over time, the empire flourished. The Queen relied on Darren's guidance in difficult times. She still ruled with her wisdom and experience, but now, humans across the galaxy had a voice in her decisions. The empire became fairer, stronger, and more just. People looked to Darren as an example of courage, honesty, and hope. One day, standing on the palace balcony, Darren thought of the mining moon where it had all begun. He remembered helping a stranger without knowing who she was. He realized that a simple act of kindness had changed everything. The Queen had trusted him, and he had trusted himself. Together, they had built a future where hope could grow, even in a galaxy full of challenges. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, and the stars began to shine. Darren and the Queen stood together, watching as light spread across the sky. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns, but he no longer felt small. He knew that humans, with courage and heart, could rise to meet any challenge. And so, the story of Darren, the human who helped the richest queen in the galaxy, became a legend. A reminder that courage, honesty, and kindness could change even the most powerful worlds. One person could make a difference. One heart could inspire hope. One choice could shape the future. Darren turned to the Queen and nodded. She smiled back. Together, they faced the stars, ready to guide the galaxy into a new era of justice and hope. Humanity had risen, not through wealth or power, but through courage, heart, and the simple truth that doing what is right can change everything. The empire had found its balance, and the galaxy had found a hero who proved that even the humblest human could leave a mark on the stars.